Good evening, everybody. This is USS Princeton 2004 here. Today is February 11th, 2013. And the time is 7:37. So it stopped raining today. It's still cloudy up in the sky, but it stopped raining. So I'm happy to be back on the motorcycle. I'm still testing the angle lens to see how it shows when I upload the videos to YouTube. What had surprised me a couple of days ago was that even if I haven't ridden my Honda Shadow for maybe a month or so, I immediately was able to start the bike after pressing the starter button. I had held the starter button maybe 2 seconds and the engine fired up immediately. So I was pretty happy about that. And from my experience, it seems that the R1, the Yamaha R1 that I have, its battery needs to be kept an eye on more so than this Honda Shadow. So I have one of those battery leads that bolts right onto the battery, which has the proper plug so that I can connect the battery tender that I have. And the one that I have is a 12-volt battery tender, and it works on any 12-volt battery. And when I had purchased the battery tender, it came with only one of those battery leads that bolts directly to the battery. And I had planned on buying another one so that I could plug the battery tender onto this Honda Shadow, but from my experience, I haven't really needed to charge the battery on this motorcycle. And those battery leads are probably less than $10. And I had planned on buying another one, but I see no need for it now because I plan on riding my motorcycles more. If this motorcycle, the Honda Shadow VT750 DC, didn't start immediately, then I would have went ahead and purchased, I don't know if I'm gonna make that light, I doubt it, but I would have purchased another extension lead that bolts directly to the battery. My 2000 Yamaha R1 has been plugged with the battery tender for at least 2 days now. So it should be ready to ride whenever I need to use it. I have scheduled an oil change for this Honda Shadow, but when I read the manual, the intervals between oil changes is longer than as in cars, from what I have observed. Usually when I change the oils in my cars or trucks, I try to change the oil within every 3,000 miles. But according to the manual for this Honda Shadow, I don't need to change it in 3 months. It's a little bit longer than that. 3 months or 3,000 miles. So I think the oil change interval is between 6,000 and 8,000. But don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure. But I do know that the oil change interval is longer than 3 months or 3,000 miles. There are some oil filters that fit this Honda Shadow. I don't use the standard OEM, the Honda brand of oil filter, because I had read from one of the Honda Shadow forums that I could use an oil filter from Walmart. I forget which brand it is, but that's what I have on this motorcycle right now, and it's a direct replacement, and the threads are exactly the same as if it was from Honda, and the size is basically the same as the Honda brand. So I don't think I would need to go to a dealership that sells these OEM manufacturer oil filters. I know some riders that stick to certain brands, and they are pretty loyal to certain brands. But for me, if I find something cheaper and it's pretty much exactly the same as a more expensive brand, then I would just, go ahead and purchase the cheaper one. I've had no problems with this motorcycle. On the odometer, when I look down on it right now, it has 7,258 miles. And when I had purchased it, it had close to 4,000 miles. I think to be exact, it had 3,800 miles. I bought this Honda Shadow from someone in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. She was actually a female rider, and I had lucked out because I had found her ad on Craigslist, and she had originally asked for a higher price than what I had bought it. And I was able to give the seller an offer, and luckily for me, she accepted the offer. And I think it's a really, really good deal. And for the price that I've seen online with different sellers, I've seen 2003 model Honda Shadow VT750 DCs going for around $3,000, and that's the 2003 model. This one is the 2007 model, which is much newer, and I had basically bought it for the price of a 2003 Honda Shadow. I had always made a search almost daily on Craigslist just for this particular motorcycle. There are tons of other motorcycles that are being sold, but this is the specific model that I was looking for. And just everything fell into place. Like, for example, I wanted the black color, and I liked how the black paint scheme looked. There are other colors that were being sold. But the black was my favorite. The color was not the deciding factor on whether I would have bought this Honda Shadow, but it was nice to have a black color since that was what I had wanted. My brother helped me pick up the motorcycle down in South Carolina. It was maybe a 4 to 5 hour trip. At the time, we used a Nissan pickup, which was the standard model. It was automatic and two-wheel drive. but there was no need for a four-wheel drive truck to carry this this motorcycle. We did have to use a ramp to get it on the back of the bed on the pickup. And we had just used a pretty thick piece of wood with a metal angled attachment that allows you to roll the tires on the motorcycle smoothly onto the bed. I've seen ramps that are made out of I need to back up here because if I don't have the lights sometimes don't change. Yeah, they will. All right, cool. The pickup that we use to pick up this motorcycle has been with our family for a really long time, and I remember early 2000s, maybe back in 1999 to 2000, I had bought my very first motorcycle, which was a Kawasaki Ninja 500. And me and my brother had traveled all the way to New York to go pick it up. And to think back on it, it was pretty insane. And a really long trip just for me to be able to get a motorcycle. But the Ninja that I had purchased was in really good condition, and I had no problems with it. But eventually I had sold that motorcycle, and I pretty much made my money back. And even if I had used it for several months, I was still able to sell it for the price that I had bought it for. Sometimes motorcycles are scarce, and you'd have to go to wherever is closest to you. But I was just in a hurry of getting a motorcycle, so making that trip up to New York wasn't that big of a deal. But I have maybe thought about selling this Honda Shadow. I already have a 2000 Yamaha R1 that I really like to ride, but I'm still undecided whether I'm going to sell this one or not. It's a good backup motorcycle, and I might just keep it just so that I have another option for transportation. But I am where I need to be right now. So this is it for this video. This is Princeton 2004 signing out.